I actually like 2002 as a year for WWF/E. By the time you got to this portion of time at Survivor Series 2002, it was already WWE for a few months. Now, I've always said that when WWF got the F out, to me, that always meant that the fun went out with it, and it never really fully returned for me. And to a degree, I think that's fair to say. And I don't feel in any way, shape, or form that I'm the only fan that believes that. When they changed their name, it changed a lot of things. And that's not necessarily good. And I know I've talked about this before, but the companies had a different name for 12 years, and oftentimes when I either bring it up to people or people bring it up to me, they more often than not still refer to the company as the WWF, not the WWE. There's a problem with that. It means you never properly branded yourself with the name change. While it might not be the easiest thing to do, while it might be a struggle to do that after being WWF for so many years, it's something you still at some point in time have to be able to do. And all these years later, more people refer to it as the WWF than the WWE. And it always is kind of a reminder of, it was better when it was the WWF. Attitudes changed, the approach changed, the product changed with the name change, and I think all of that holds true. But the funny thing is, in 2002, there were a lot of good things going on to me with the product of the WWF and then the WWE. I didn't like everything, that's for sure. But WrestleMania 18. I don't think it was the greatest WrestleMania of all time by any stretch of the imagination. It gave me Hogan Rock. I got that one last type of uh, short-term glory run for Hogan as champion. You got to see a very deep and talented roster, and you had split off into the brand extension. You had Raw as its own entity and SmackDown with its own entity, two shows with their own unique feels, both shows loaded with talent that brought different things to the table. SummerSlam 2002 completely and totally kicked ass, as did Survivor Series 2002. A lot of good things in this year for the WWF/E in terms of an on-screen, in-ring product way. It was damn good. And a lot for me to talk about here. Even the bad or awkward or funny stuff still all worked here with Survivor Series 2002, like the opening match. It's a six-man elimination tables match. The Dudley Boys versus and the Dudley Boys and Jeff Hardy, excuse me, taking on 3-minute warning and Rico. This match is always notable to me for the spot where Rico's standing up on the turnbuckle, and he's standing up there on the top for about a minute and a half, and he's screaming, "Jeff, God damn it, come on, Jeff!" So you had your nice 6 spots here, and you had your fun, but you also had that kind of fucked up, awesome ass botchamania type of classic moment. A great fucking opening match for Survivor Series. You got Billy Kidman, Jamie Noble, Cruiserweight Championship. Man, they were giving the cruiserweights good stories. Nidia! I love Jamie Noble with Nidia, man. That shit was fucking awesome. And I enjoyed the cruiserweight division a lot at the time. Still couldn't help Billy Kidman from boring the brakes off of me, granted, but the cruiserweight division was a reason to watch SmackDown at the time. There's no doubt about it. They were doing some good stuff with that. The Hardcore Women's Championship match, Victoria versus Trish Stratus. Good stuff here. You could actually get away with this type of match with these two performers in the ring. The only match that, frankly, wasn't all that good was Big Show beating Brock Lesnar for the WWE Championship. This was kind of dumb. Here's Brock Lesnar, the next big thing, and in 2002, you went with him. You had him, bear hug Hogan out of the fucking company, so to speak, for a period of time. You had Lesnar run through everybody, and then you have him beat The Rock at SummerSlam to become the champion. And at that time, the youngest champion in the history of the damn company. He's the undisputed champion, dot, dot, dot. And then within 3 months, you're already jumping off of the bandwagon by having Paul Heyman turn on Lesnar to align himself with Big Show. And then you have Big Show beat Lesnar in less than 5 minutes for the fucking title. That was dumb. One of the worst Survivor Series matches of all time. And one of the most telegraphed finishes in Survivor Series history. It was just bad. You could see it coming a mile away that Heyman was turning on Lesnar and lining himself up with the Big Show. It was just dumb. And so many things about it were fucking stupid. Thankfully, though, the stupidity of this was more than made up for with the segment involving Matt Hardy and Chris Nowinski. You had the video packages hyping it up. And oh, baby, here comes Big Papa Pump Scott Steiner in Madison Square Garden. He fucking takes out the whiskey and Hardy. He says, "Give me that fucking mic." And when he came out and that siren went off, man, that MSG crowd fucking popped. And then when he said, "Give me that fucking mic," you felt the buzz. You felt the crowd, popping wood in their pants. I mean, they were creaming themselves. Here's Steiner in the Garden on a WWF pay-per-view with the hot live mic. What the fuck is this psycho son of a bitch gonna say? Classic. That's how you bring in somebody. It's a shame they didn't bother doing this, during the invasion angle. There's Steiner, another guy. All the guys that they were WCW top guys that weren't affiliated with the Alliance, weren't affiliated with the invasion angle in any way, shape, or form. Here's fucking Steiner a year after the fact. But man, this was a hell of a debut. It was perfect timing. It was perfect place. And it was such a great asset to this fucking show. It was so much fun. Another match that was really fun on this show was the three-way tag title match. The Guerreros versus Angle and his ghost opponent, and then Edge and Rey Mysterio. Classic shit here. More good stuff. The Guerreros win. We lie, we cheat, we steal. Damn, those guys were a good tag team. And even here in this case, the tag team division was still really, really good, even if you were throwing Angle with a ghost opponent that doesn't exist in WWE history anymore, and you were throwing Edge and Rey Mysterio together. The talent level of the roster at that time was good enough where you could still get away with it, and you still had a really good tag team division. And they still cared about the tag teams. They actually gave these tag teams stories. They actually developed their characters. And it was really damn good. But the thing I always liked most about Survivor Series 2002 was that this was where the Elimination Chamber was first introduced. This was something to behold at the time. I remember heading into this show when they had Bischoff on Raw announce the creation of the Elimination Chamber. I'm like, this shit sounds sick. I can't wait to see how this works. I can't wait to see how this goes down, how the people involved with this match make this work. It was the reason I bought Survivor Series 2002. I had some feeling heading into it that this was going to be a really good show. But the reason I paid money for this show was actually twofold. Believe it or not, it was twofold. One, it was the Chamber. And two, I wanted to see Shawn Michaels win the belt here at Survivor Series 2002. I don't think I've really ever made that known or talked about that much, at least not that I can recall. Because I knew at the time, you had brought Shawn Michaels back, he beat Triple H at SummerSlam, you needed to validate him. It would mean a lot to his character at the time, and it would mean a lot to the product and the fans at the time for Shawn Michaels to win the belt here. It had to happen. There were just too many things that lined up too perfectly for it not to happen here. Now, of course, if we'd have known he was going to wear those lame-ass poopy brown pants, maybe they shouldn't have given him the goddamn belt in Survivor Series 2002. But you get the Elimination Chamber. I never liked Elimination Chamber being a pay-per-view. But what I do like is the notion of the Elimination Chamber match main eventing Survivor Series every year. I really do. I think this is the perfect combination of unique once-a-year type gimmick, also fitting the gimmick of the pay-per-view incredibly well. I thought this was well done by the WWE, going out of their way to do something different that ties into the gimmick of the pay-per-view. And I've always felt that. Like, if Survivor Series 2014 had a Survivor Series main event that was an Elimination Chamber match for the title, then fucking men, I'd be ecstatic for that. If they do that next year, that's what I want them to do. If they're getting rid of Elimination Chamber pay-per-view, bring the Elimination Chamber back as a once-a-year thing for Survivor Series, because that in its own way becomes a drawing card for the event. I don't know what's going to happen here. But I always like Elimination Chamber matches, and by God, it's going to be on Survivor Series. The one time of year that I get to see it, so I'm not going to miss it. Somewhat similar to the Royal Rumble match as a part of the Royal Rumble pay-per-view. You get one Royal Rumble a year. You might get other Battle Royals, what have you. You get one Royal Rumble a year, and it becomes its own drawing card to that event. It becomes the signature drawing card for that event. And I think Elimination Chamber as a match can be that signature drawing card for Survivor Series going forward. But you have the right participants here. You have Shawn Michaels. You've got Triple H. You know, the guy. He's the man. He's Bischoff's chosen champion, if you will. The reign of terror of God during this time frame. You know, God almighty. But you know what? It worked, I guess, at that time. You throw RVD and you throw Booker T and you throw Kane and you throw Jericho in, and you've got the right combination of people to pull this match off. And pull this match off they did. This is incredible. This felt like a Big Four title match main event. This, to me, is one of the best Survivor Series matches of all time. And I would argue one of the great title matches, world title matches, that is, in the history of WWF/E Big Four pay-per-views. This was incredible. I love this match. And I love the full circle kind of feeling of it. You know, here's Shawn Michaels coming back to the Garden, where 6 years earlier, the fans hated him as a babyface, as a good guy. They despised him. They were booing the brakes off of this Joker. They were getting behind Psycho Sid when so many things would suggest that Shawn Michaels will be the type of guy that serious fans like the Garden fans would absolutely love. They shit all over him. But here now it's 2002, and the moment and the feeling and the time is perfect and it's right, and you're packaging him as this born-again Christian, and he's a different guy. He's a new Shawn Michaels, and the crowd wants him to win it. The crowd needs him to win it. They feel that he's got to win it. And the WWE got it right. I know maybe Shawn Michaels never wanted to win the title, but he was wrong. He had to win it here. Because when you sit there and he wins the belt at the end of the night and the confetti streaming down and you see kind of the emotion coming over his face and he's telling the people thank you and the people are exploding, you know, it's a reminder of what professional wrestling can represent. It's a reminder of how much professional wrestling can strike a chord and connect with you. No matter your age, no matter your passion level, it can hit you. That's what professional wrestling is. Not only is it a morality play, but it's drama. It's suspense. It's about emotions. And by God, this match, every time I go back and watch it, I find myself getting emotional, not in a teary way, but in kind of like a sappy, sentimental, this is awesome type of way. That's why I love this match. That's why I love this finish. That's why I love Survivor Series 2002 so much. One of the truly great Survivor Series of all time. One of the truly great Big Four pay-per-views in the history of the WWF in /E, anyways, in my opinion.